Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome. It is time for Super Sunday here on Apex Racing TV. The Weekend Warriors, they're loud and proud. 2 races, 1 evening. First off, it's the Formula Ford. Later on, we'll see the Ford Spec Racers as we head to Light Rock Park. This iconic circuit, synonymous because you start out so early on it in your iRacing career. It's one of the free tracks, tight, technical, but also works on much powerful cars. But today, it's old school. Free car, free track, Formula Fords around Lime Rock. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. We've got Lewis Wright, he's with me in the virtual production trailer. I've got to be all by myself. All to enjoy this week as we head, of course, up to northwest Connecticut, to be precise. Just the foothills of the Berkshire Mountains. And wow, it's a tall order for some of our drivers. They look up the mountain, but this track will definitely provide plenty of entertainment and wheel-to-wheel action for sure. We've got qualifying undergoing right now. And let's take a look at the championship standings. Before we get things underway proper, Spec 1, Jason Green leads the way. That's largely because, as you can see by that column in the middle, that denotes how many races they've taken part so far in this season. And with 9 races, well, you should argue he should definitely be at the top. But it's been tough for him. It's not been easy all the way for Green. And he only leads by, what, 48 points over Megan Overstreet, who's only participated in 7 races. That's a cracking points haul from her so far this season, considering she's only 2 races short of what Green's participated in. Lorenz Arabian, he's third in the championship. There's Thomas Renders, who's picked up a victory this season. That was very early on. That was in round 2, if memory serves me right. Eric Rodenberg in 5th. There's Simon Mayer, he's tied for 6th with Alan DeGassius. Ball, he's 8th with Jeff Jacobson and Leandro in to run out, well, in attempt to run out that top 10. Let's take a little look into Spec 2 now. And wow, Richard Warbanker, talking of those, 9 races. Well, he's only taken part in 8th, and he's in charge of the Spec 2 Championship with 509 points. 12 points behind him is Tom Laurie, with Richard Coffey running out that top 3. He's getting cut adrift a little bit at this late stage of the season. Whilst just shy of 30, 29 points short of Tom Laurie's total. Gary Walbot's fourth. There's Lassie Pentakainen, who had run strong in the early part of the season. But due to the combination not being here and sort of faded away as the season's gone on, hopefully we're going to see a bit of a return to form for the finish drive in the latter stages. Chris Montgomery 6th, there's Montabeni in 7th, Benner 8th, Griffin and Pocock to round out that top 10, with those two being very close indeed. Across the Masters, well, we've seen some epic battles this season. Yogmani, Antonio Race, Chris Murakami up front, duking and dueling it away. But it's Antonio Race, in fact, who leads the championship standings on 540. 37 points behind him is Yogmani in second. With Stevie Ray, of course, picking up that class win only 1 week ago. He is third. Jim Brewster fourth, then Murakami down in fifth. That's largely due to him taking part in 6 races so far this season. Bradshaw sixth, there's Franz Reck in seventh. Green, then cut adrift now, there's Andrew Love. That's largely due to him taking part in only 3 races. Likewise, Jeff Kansas in that top 10, and Charlie Picaro down in 11th there with 56 points. Not to mention qualifying well underway. And we have got ahead of us 40 minutes of racing here from Lime Rock. As always, the cars restricted on fuel. They will need to take a pit stop, which has caught a few drivers out this season. Drivers over-fueling cars, drivers under-fueling it. Will they get it right this week at Lime Rock? I don't need to worry too much in qualifying, so we're 14 minutes into the 20th. Addison Hoagie, the Spec 2 driver, who leads the way. A cracking result for him. Only just, though, just under 200ths of a second, not tenths, but hundredths of a second between himself and Overstreet as Antonio Rice goes further. There's Chris Murakami making a beautiful little pirouette there. There's the, well, American-Japanese driver, just well down by his normal standards right now. In 8th place, as there's Montevini. He's on a bit of a decent lap right now. As Murakami's still off on the grass there, trying to get out of everyone's way, and doing so, taking the alternative rallycross line if there was to be a rallycross track here at Lime Rock Park. But there we go, Tim surrenders. He now takes control. And look at how tight the times are. To get a difference of half a second, you have to go all the way down to Simon Ball in 16th place, and he's only, well, 4700ths of a second. So not even the full half a second behind. There we go, you see it all displayed for you now, just how close it is. A 10 covering, in fact, all the way down to Simon Mayer in 7th, as he just slightly improves there. No gaining positions, but managed to go a few hundredths quicker. Take it even closer to that 1/10 mark, 0.103, 3 thousandths of a second over that one. It's all about just trying to find that gap on track, as we know open qualifying, as you well had guessed it already, all the drivers out on track. Always a bit of a challenge to find that, you know, the space out on track. It's always a challenge for these drivers, especially when you come to somewhere so small like Lime Rock. This circuit is only 1.5 miles long. That's 2.4 kilometers if you're of the metric persuasion. Well, it hasn't really changed since its inception, all the way back in 1957. And it's that same layout that we're racing on this evening. We've got no uphill chicane, and of course the West Bend chicane. A lot of people don't love it. I've never actually met anyone who does like it, to be fair. Luckily, we're not racing with that as we see him sweep through the uphill. It's a real bit of a challenge there as the car gets light, slightly gets airborne in certain car categories. So easy to lose it, especially on those car tyres in the opening stages of the race. It's going to take, with such a short track, quite a few laps. There's Rich Howard having a little bit of an excursion, as Paul Pereira's just gone on to provisional pole right now with a 53.373. There is the Brazilian out on track, and it's Rich Howard in front of him just getting a little bit squirrely, and that causes, well, Pereira just have to try and bail out of it, and we all know when these cars are loaded up. Touching the brakes, and around they go, just where balanced on a knife edge. Don't have, of course, any downforce whatsoever. It's not like really like a GT3 where you would have got away with that one, certainly. Alone, something like a prototype. Don't tend to race it into prototypes around here. You can understand why, although I can tell you, thanks to the beauty of the sim world, well, we can get away with stuff like this. I was only talking to our producer Lewis just before the show about random car and track combos we've tried out. He was mentioning the Mercedes W12 at Rudskogen, absolutely epic fun. I was thinking the LMP2 at Alton Park, the full layout without any chicanes, great fun. Just like how you can run the LMP2s around here, and even the prototypes, or even the F1 cars, and they are great fun to hoon around once in a while, but not the best for racing this short nature. As there's Simon Ball Still, well, 16th he remains as he has been for the last 5 minutes or so. You can hear the cars clattering with suspension, and well, that's Tom Lorry going to be having his time deleted as he clipped the grass on the outside there. Well held from the American as he drops down through diving turn to start another lap with 18 minutes 27 on the clock. He will get probably a couple of more laps in as well. This is the beauty of such a short circuit. If you make a mistake, you get to go again and again and again. And in fact, so far, who's got the highest amount of laps they've completed? Let's have a little bit of a look. If he's Antonio Race and actually Montevani, they're both on 20 apiece. Well, that's impressive, Caesar. We've only done, what, just shy of 19 minutes of qualifying so far. There's Jason Green. He was in provisional pole for a little while early on, but has since dropped away. Murakami's just said the fastest first sector of anyone. He's on a bit of a flyer as all Green's, well, coming to an end there. He's coming into the pits, and that's looking like qualifying going to be done and dusted for him. He's currently down in 6th place, as we mentioned, although there are improving laps going on. Simon Mayer's on a good one. Murakami too. Gassius, he's going again right into the depths, running into overtime there. There's Murakami. What did he manage last time around? Well, it was an improvement. Still remains 7th, though, at 53.55 for him. Mayer, despite those good sectors, did not improve on Murakami. That's his last lap gone, done, dusted, checked out. Will not be improving. Even if it was to go faster, which would take an absolute miracle or a rocket ship strapped to that forward. That's trip off track. Will ensure his time is deleted as here comes Simon Mayer. See what he's going to manage. Cross line currently in 8th place, a 53.59. The time to beat his previous best. So he takes the checkered flag. Let's see what he managed, and he in fact goes slower, a 57.14. So definitely a few troubles earlier on in the lap for him. Actually, no, I think that was his previous lap to that, so I think he must have had his time deleted. So a bit of bad luck there for Simon Mayer, the German, remaining down in 8th place as Jan Pereira. Oh, he was slipping and a slide in there coming through diving turn. And in the end, headed out onto the grass, and that's his lap. Done, dusted, deleted. The Brazilian, they're still looking strong there in that provisional pole position as Antonio Race. He's a master of qualifying. What can he do? As he cuts the timing beam, will he go faster? Currently 5th, 10th and a half off the pace, and he goes slower by 700ths of a second. He will remain in 5th place. And I think that's going to be us done and dusted because yeah, Charlie Vaccaro, he's on a, well, he's still going round. He's actually been across the line since the checkered flag came out. So just getting in a bit of extra practice here is the American. He's currently down in 23rd. Bit of a disappointment for the American. 1.7 seconds, nearly 1.8 off the pace. As that is it. We are done and dusted here from Lime Rock with qualifying. And see the Porsche 911 safety car has headed out onto the track, and that means we can form up our grid. And this is how they line up. It's Jean Pereira starting from pole with Addison Hoagie, the Spec 2 driver. He's been having a whale of a time here in the Formula 4's victory last time out as well. They make it your front row. Thomas Renders and Overstreet, previous winners in this series, they make up row 2. That's the top qualifier in Masters. Antonio Rice starts 5th with Jason Green for companies, make up row 3. Row 4 is another Masters and Spec 1 row with Murakami alongside Simon Mayer. Down to Gassius. He's got Andrew Love company. Nearly the true pattern. But Love starts on the left side, whereas the other two Masters in front of him start on the right side. Montevini and Jim Brewster make up row 6 of the grid. Row 7, see Stevie Ray alongside Lassie Pentakainen, hoping for a bit of a better result here today. The Finn, Chris Montgomery, he's got Simon Ball for company with Roland Wallback and Jeff Jacobson make up row 9. Row 10, your top 20, see Tom Laurie and Gary Walbold, both Spec 2 drivers line up together. Then it's Franz Reg and George Camilo, with Charles Vaccaro and Rich Howard going to run down your 12-car grid here from Lime Rock. 24 cars. This could be interesting, to say the least. 14 minutes of racing up and coming for you. So let's have a bit of a mention to one of our sponsors. Well, let's say one of our sponsors, our only sponsor for this series, and what a sponsor they have been for certain. Precision Data Analysis. Now, their owner, Ray Phillips, has over 30 years of experience in motorsports and raced open wheel cars for almost 20 years of that time. He's now found a passion in helping others go faster and perfect their racecraft. He can fill the role of race and data engineer, and also as a driver coach, while helping drivers get the most out of data and video systems. Now, Ray was a data engineer and driver coach for a 2019 winning team in the Ferrari Challenge Series, assisting multiple drivers for the team. Precision Data Analysis also sells a wide range of data and video equipment that can help everyone from a high-performance driver education driver to a professional driver or even a race team with multiple cars and drivers. No matter what you choose, customers get information they need to go fast and have a good time on track. Precision Data Analysis can help real-world racers, sim racers, high-performance driver education drivers go faster while staying within their limits. Give them a shout and see what they're all about. It's Precision Data Analysis. Works out very nicely as the field just making their way round the track, heading around the back of the circuit. Now behind that Porsche 911 safety car through West Bend, dropping down the hill through diving turn. Will we get away cleanly? Let's hope so. Someone blinking out in the background there. That's not going to be a very comfortable start for those drivers in the background there. As can't quite catch who it is, but Pereira takes control of the pace. Let's get ready to go racing in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors Series from Lime Rock Park, as we are green and we are away down towards turn one as they span out across the track, 2 wide, even 3 wide in the background. And will everyone make their way through? Oh wow, there's no real movers while I say that. Bruce has already picked up a couple of places, and Andrew Love's come off well. You can just see him skating across the track in the background there. Not the start he would have hoped for. Rich Howard off the track, I think that was 2. No, apologies, it wasn't him. I think it might have been Lasse Pentikainen, in fact. Not getting the first turn he would have wanted. As we head around the back of the circuit through Big Bend towards the uphill and the back straight. Of course, no chicane to slow us down here. The car's getting light. This is going to be treacherous in these opening laps with cold tyres. The car gets incredibly light through that section. Even these much slower Formula Ford cars. Dropping down into turn 1. We ride on board with Antonio Rice. That is Overstreet ahead of us. Renders, you can't see him, but Murakami's right on our tail right now. The Portuguese driver still leading Masters, but Murakami, his foe, right on it, hot on his heels. Down into turn 1. So they all remain orderly up front. In fact, it was green. Oh, who's that off in the background? I think that's Simon Ball, possibly. Yes, it was. The Brit just out-braking himself down into Big Bend turn 1, and now finds himself right at the back of the field and being squeezed by Andrew Love, who sends it right around the outside. Will he hold on? Will he be able to reclaim this pace? And they almost make contact there. Simon Ball holds on to that one, and he remains 23rd. It's quite full right to the back, but even so drops 7 places because of that early error. To make their way up the hill, but back up front, they are nose to tail still. It was Jason Green, in fact, you can just catch him in the background there, who did not get the best of starts. He dropped 2 places down to 8th, having started 6th. So everyone just making their way through now, an orderly affair. This is a challenge to pass around Lime Rock. There's no lie in that, as there's Lasse Pentikainen trying to prove me wrong and recover some of the places that Finn lost at the start, getting a little bit loose on the curves into Big Bend. That's Tom Laurie in front of him. Oh, something's happened in front. I think that's Antonio Rice. Did I just catch a car? There's a big puff of smoke as Rice is dropping round through the order. Yes, it is. And I think Jason Green also caught up in that too. He's ascending his way down through the timing tower. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen right now. But Pentikainen and co made their way through. Tom Laurie, he's at a blinding step. He's at 9 places off the start. I just say you can't really overtake around here. Tom Laurie said, hold my beer, Tim. Watch this. 3 laps in, up 9 places. At that rate, well, he'll be leading within probably laps 6 or 7. That's got a lot of time to make up as here comes the replay. Let's take a look at exactly what happened to Antonio Rice. So is he going to lose it all by himself? I think he may well do here. Oh, just a little bit too much mustard. Murakami squeezes through. Green, well, missed him, but then got loose and lost it at the rear. And there's Jim Brewster, who got tagged from behind. And does he avoid the wall? I think he just about does. Oh, wow. Deep breaths all round right now. There's Lassie Pantakainen. They're still trying to make up places. Montevini just in front of him. He's 12. So well, lap 4, only 3 minutes of action so far. Can you believe it? We've had enough to last a lifetime. Gianpera leads. Overall, Hoagie, second overall, leading Spec 2. Then it's Renders, Overstreet, Murakami leading Masters. He's 5th. Now, because of course, we've just seen that big incident. If only Antonio Rice, which has lost him from that 5th place. Mayor 6th, then it's Ray. Up into 7th. Degassi's just past Montevini. Montgomery, sorry, I think Montevini may even lost another place there potentially. So we're on board with Chris Montgomery. It's all jostling and jockeying for position back down the midfield here. Pantakainen, I think, may well have made up a place. No, so Montevini getting past Tom Laurie because Laurie's only up 8 now instead of the 9 that he was previously. The American, you see him in the number 216 machine just making his way. Oh, there's a spinner, and that's Stevie Ray who's gone around. Well, from 2nd in class, 7th overall, and this is that exact part of the track that I said the drivers need to be careful on as they headed uphill through the back straight, the crest of the hill. So easy to get airborne, only for a fraction of a second, but that is all it takes just to lose the rear. Let's take a look at the replay. Yes, it's going to give us an answer exactly how Ray lost this. Is it as I suspect? Is it? Let's see how hard he's pushing. Just a lot. He's got a bit loose there. Just caught a bit too much to the curb. They got the car up onto 3 wheels, loaded up the rear axle. And those sires said, no, no, I've got nothing else left to give you, Ray. And around that Formula Ford went. And he's dropped all the way down to, well, 3rd in class, amazingly. That's how strongly himself, Murakami, and Race earlier were running. This 18th overall, so not what he would have hoped for. Green's recovered a little bit. He's back up to 16th overall, having dropped 10 places. So look back from Chris Montgomery. I think that's Montevini. Just, yes, it is. Pulling to driver's right, left-hand side of the screen. Having a go down into Big Bend, turn 1. And this is going to be a big move. Yes, it is. And tell you what, Pantakainen trying to squeeze his nose in alongside there. And Montgomery could lose another place, but just about cuts off us all. There's someone off in the background. I think that's Camillo. Well, it's looking like how he's descending. Yeah, he's headed straight into the pits. He's descending down the timing tower. Another one by Sodox here at Lime Rock Park. Well, we started with 24. We've had 2 retirements because actually Simon bought it. Get off again. That's Pantakainen around, and he's being collected by Laurie on the way through. Pantakainen gets going again. At what cost, though? What damage has he picked up from that contact? Laurie has got going again, but he has dropped a fair few places, and this is becoming a real war of attrition here. And it's through that part of the circuit that I said about early on, and it's called out quite a few of our drivers. Last lap it was Ray, this time Pantakainen, well, just touched the grass on the outside. That caught him spin, and then Laurie desperately trying to avoid him. And ends up sliding in synchronicity with Pantakainen. As I think so. Yeah, Montevini, I just saw him in the background there as the timing tower cut behind him, in front of him in my end, but that's Montevini out, and that's through the S's and Big Ben. So, no, sorry, the S's and the kink even. Let's have a look. Tom Laurie spinning again in the background there, coming out of the diving turn. Final corner. Montevini's going to lose it all. Oh no, he doesn't. Wow, a bit of contact there with the 04 machine of Alan Degassius, who'd lost it in front of him. Montevini had nowhere to go whatsoever, bar making contact there with Degassius. Wow. 7 minutes in, and who's going to survive? How many are we going to have finish this? Because, as I said, this is turning into be a real war of attrition. A battle for the ages. Everyone's struggling with grip at these early stages of the race and these tyres. I mean, they are absolutely rock solid, designed to last numerous races. Track temperatures, ambient temperatures. So ambient of 22 degrees Celsius, so that's nice and cool. Track temperature, that's about 34 degrees Celsius, which is around about 70 or 8, about 85, from memory serves me right, if you're of the Fahrenheit persuasion. So definitely, you know, it's this warm, but it's not too hot. And could you imagine what this track would have been like with track temperatures up into the 40 Celsius, over the 100 mark in Fahrenheit? Barely drivable, but the skill of some of these drivers, they would have had an absolute field day, I'm sure. So we're on board with Addison Hoagie. That is Jean Pereira just in front of us, and then in front of him is Charlie Vaccaro. Is traffic going to play a part of this story? Oh, and that is Pereira squeezing the track limits there. But that's how you go fast. You find the limits and you go up to them, but you don't go any further. So we head through diving turn. And practically drifting through every corner is Jean Pereira, the Brazilian, bringing the Samba flair and style here to Lime Rock Park. And Hoagie, the cool, calm, collected Canadian. How about that for alliteration? He still remains in second. Brenda's still hot on their heels though. These top three have really broken away, which is a bit of a surprise because Overstreet is no slouch whatsoever. She remains down in fourth. And these top four, well, the only 5 drivers yet to change positions. There's Roland Warbank. Oh, it's Roland. I always want to call you Richard. I don't know why. But the Brit still remains in 17th, which is where he qualified. Only 8 attempts covering our top 3 right now. It's scary the way that Jean Pereira is driving that car with such aggression, such slip angle, but it's working for him, an absolute treat right now. But you have to wonder, what is it doing to his tyres? Now, these tyres can take a bit of a pounding, they can take a bashing and a beating, but there are limits. There are limits, but has Pereira found them? Is Hoagie actually playing things a little bit too safe here? Either way, Renders sat behind, waiting to capitalise on either one of them, as I think Green and Jacobson have just swapped around. Yes, they have. That for 10th place overall right now. It's up the hill they go, and I tell you what, Addison Hoagie is just turned up the pressure, just another notch on the dial right now. It's down to 2 tenths, well, pretty much dipping into a tenth a lot of the time. Pereira, he is unbreakable at this stage of the race, just holding on, not succumbing to what Hoagie is throwing at him. But Renders is closing in too, shrinking that gap even further between our top 4. Oh, something's happened to Renders. I think he might have had a bit of a half spin because he's disappeared off and he's descending down the timing tower. Does he run in too deep into turn 1? Well, here comes a replay. I think this is going to give us some answers. So there he is, with Pereira and Hoagie in front of him. Pushing so hard. Oh, didn't think he was going to make the corner. Locked up. That ensured he didn't make the corner. And as he slowly collects himself together, rejoining the track, comes out behind Overstreet and Murakami. Now Overstreet onto the podium overall. Still second in class, and Render's still third in class. So competitive the nature here at Lime Rock today. Lots of classes representing things here in the top 10. But everyone, I mean, even more so. We did have more Masters classes early on. If you didn't join us, well, you've missed an enthralling opening 12 minutes here from Lime Rock Park. As we have had enough action to last, to easily fill the whole 40 minutes of racing so far, which we saw Antonio Rice drop out from leaving Masters. Stevie Ray, we saw him drop out from second place in Masters due to incidents. Who else hasn't? Jason Green's had them too. It's really shaped around. Tom Laurie's been in the wars. He now finds him a lap down. He has pitted though. So Laurie will get, now this is interesting. So Laurie and Montavani have pitted. They will get themselves to the end. Likewise will Gassius has retired the car. So Let's just take yourself through retirements. We're on to lap 14 right now. Retirements are Gasias on 20th. We lost him on lap 11. Ray we lost on lap 10. Love on lap 8. Camillo on lap 6. And Rich Howard back on lap 4. Ferreira just clearing the traffic there. And that just gives himself that little bit of breathing space between himself and us and Hoagie right now. Gap up to 4 tenths. And that's the largest we've seen the gap in quite a while. Well, pretty much since the start of the race. They have been nose to tail, trading around the 1 to 4 attempts. As into the pits comes Chris Murakami from the lead in Masters. Bar a complete disaster in pit stop. He will remain first in class. That's cycle through every single pit stop right now. That's right, there we see him battling for what is the provisional lead. Well, he's beyond that because actually it's Brewster. In fact, he's 1.8 seconds behind him. It's Jeff Jacobs someone in front of us. This is a chance to get ourselves inside the top 10. So there's a big cloud of smoke. I'm sure I saw in the background there as they headed through West Bend, but not too sure who that was. Looks like everyone's made it through, so maybe Simon Borgsy's come off track, but that is up the inside. Beautiful little textbook move there by Antonio Rice down into turn 1. Gets the move done. Recovery drive in full effect right now for the Portuguese driver, although we've ruined that mistake early on. To approach the 15-minute mark, Pereira leads from Hoagie in second, who's leading in Spec 2. Then it's Overstreet third overall, second in class. Horrendous by that, well, mistake. Remains fourth in class, fifth overall. Then it's our, well, second and third in Spec 2. Montgomery and Pentikainen, sixth and seventh respectively. Walbolt, eighth. Then it's Jason Green, ninth for race. We've just seen make his way inside the top 10 as he slipped past Jeff Jacobson there. Getting into 11th and making outside that top 10. I'd say about this one driver, he's had a bit of a quiet one. He's been chipping away. Simon Mayer, bit of a disappointment in qualifying. Couldn't go faster late on. However, due to mistakes in front of him, he's kept a clean race. Now finds himself up 3 places after not the best start. Up into 5th. Bit more like, oh, there we go. Curse of the commentator, 101. Just see how well he does, and he gets loose, coming out the uphill, and finds the wall. Okay, good at these. Still ruining after the mistake that I made, where I praised, heaped praise onto Thomas Cope in the Apex Racing League Porsche Cup series, the final round of the Nürburgring. And literally, as I finished speaking my sentence, I touched the grass and stuck it straight in the wall. Apologies, Simon. I apologise. He's down for the order. I mean, couldn't get away, obviously, with pitting now. We'll need to run longer and deeper with this second stint, although we'll definitely easily get himself home. To be wall up front. He's dicing with death, is Pereira. Dicing with death. I mean, is this the reverse commentator's curse? When I'm saying he's dicing with death, he's going to have an accident, and he just won't. He is living on the edge right now. It's Hoagie behind us, and it's back down to 2 tenths, that gap. Just a meager 2 tenths. Right, you can see the alternate lines. Hoagie far more hugged and into that apex, and that inside line to what Pereira is. He goes for a slightly wider line. It looks uncomfortable, looks a bit loose, looks a bit leery, but it's working to great effect with him right now. See how he manages this one. Yeah, again, he's getting so close, whereas Hoagie's playing that more conservative line heading up the hill. And Pereira saying, well, if there's track there and there's Simon there, I can use it, and I'm going to get my money worth out of the Albert Park. There's Hoagie trying there, the same effect, but gets onto the grass. It won't make any difference to his momentum as he head down into turn 1. And again, you can see the differing lines as we're on board with Anson Hogan, the Canadian, using a bit of the curbs, whereas Pereira just letting just that slightly line away from the inside of the curb as Pentikainen's made it past Montgomery for 5th place right now. I'll get a lovely view of just how loose and Larry, just how differing lines they are through the uphill. Hoagie plays it so much more safer. Whereas Pereira rolls the dice and comes up with a double six yet again. I'm not sure I can take another 22 minutes of this. Gasping every time Pereira gets close to that grass, time and time again. Green's had a good result, hasn't he? He's recovered well, although does still need to pit as the American. He's hauled himself back up into 7th. That's himself past Gary Wohlbolt. There is Jim Brewster. He's now brought himself up onto the back of Jeff Jacobson after a good start from Jacobson. It's fallen by the wayside a little bit by the American own high standards, I believe. Now, I believe that's my imposing Jeff Jacobson here, and this looks like he's going to need a number of places. Brewster moves to drivers right up the inside, and Jacobson down to 11. Now we've only got 15 drivers remaining on the lead lap. 16 that are still running. More retirements. Tom Laurie, Simon Ball, Montevani came into the pits and then came back in again. Didn't get going. Drivers do have one fast repair left to their, well, to their name, not left to them, just to their name. They can use it whenever they want. But if you have 2 mistakes, well, it's going to cost you dearly, and that's why we've had so many retirements here today. So many drivers pushing things to the absolute maximum, just like these two. What is helping them? Well, certainly helping Pereira. So traffic has disappeared now. The circuit's become a lot lighter, a lot more open, less congested, if you will. That means there's no one left for him to trip over. Equal terms, though. There's less people for him to get in between himself and Hoagie and utilise it's a bit of like a multi-class endurance style. And just utilise him to eke out that gap. Of course, it happened earlier on. The gap grew from 2 tenths all the way up to around about 5-6 tenths. Hoagie reeled Pereira in. And it compressed all the way back down to 2 tenths, which is where we are now. This is, I think, realistic. If we left these two lads here all night, I think that is exactly how they would remain. They have been so evenly matched on pace. It's been unreal. Trading fast in laps, trading the identical lap times. Last time around, in fact, only 200ths separated the pair of them. A 53.55 for Pereira, a 53.57 for Hoagie. And this is all going to come down to pit strategy. Who's going to call this one right? See the gap and how it's barely moved at all over the course of the last 5 laps. If anything, technically, it's grown ever so slightly by 0.04 of a second. We all know that's nothing to write home about. That's nothing to worry about whatsoever. Just natural ebb and flow between these two, well, highly skilled drivers right now around Lime Rock Park. We're having what looks like an absolute whale of a time. I know I would be, but then equally I can't drive as fast as them, so probably wouldn't be. There we go, Antonio Rice. He's improved, he's picked up a position past Gary Wohlbolt. Get himself back up into 8th, still of course leading Masters. That is largely due to Murakami yet to pinch as Charlie Vicario into the pits from 12th place. Where will he come out as our top 2? Going to come past him here, come past pit road to head out into another lap. It's lap 25 for these two. And the fastest sector 1 of anyone just been set by Jean Pereira. He's fine, he's not hanging around. That fuel's burning off and he knows it, and he can push the car just a little bit harder. Find that bit more speed. Hoagie has got him covered every step of the way. He's like a shadow which will not go away. A little dog yapping at his heels. In this case, a Formula Ford snapping in his gearbox. I don't know about you viewers, I genuinely don't know, but seeing how close Pereira gets every single time, I have my heart in my mouth. He's so close, just ending in disaster, but he's got it fully under control, and that's why he's in control of this race right now. In first place, Hogan second, Overstreet third, Renders fourth. We've got Penscine in fifth, Montgomery sixth, and Green, Rice, Wohlbolt. And Brewster ran out of that top 10. It's Simon Mayer, last driver on the lead lap, who has pitted Mayer's one to watch out for. He pitted from 5th place. So he's still got a large part to play in the story of this race. That is for certain. One thing you can definitely tell you, one check you can definitely catch. This Hoagie setting the fastest second sector of everyone. They're flipping and they're flapping. They share near identical fastest laps. There is nothing between these top two whatsoever right now as they duke it out. They duel it out. And despite completely contrasting driving styles, the aggressive, flamboyant Pereira, the efficient and tight Hoagie, neither one is able to come out on top of the other. They continue this fight, which I'm sure is going to come all the way to the death. If they both have identical pit times, which based on their lap times, I'm sure they're going to. And these two will come back out exactly where they are, right into the fight, and it will be a run to the line as to who gets this one. And I just don't know how to call this. It's going to end, well, it's going to end in either Hoagie or Pereira winning it. As they are a whopping 8 seconds clear of the field. Overstreet is no slouch whatsoever, but that is a big, big margin to be leading by. So we are at 24 minutes into this race. We've got 16 remaining here from Lime Rock Park. A bit of traffic ahead of them. I do believe that Jason Green is one of those. Well, I look like Jason Green. Like so many drivers have quite similar systems. Something's happened to Murakami. I think he's come off track. He's lost a bit of time there. He has pitted so far down in 14th. As into the pits because Pentakainen and Montgomery, they're coming synchronicity. Let's take a look at the replay though. So this is how things happened and panned out for Murakami. Well, it's that part of the track. There we go. Finds the gear. No, he doesn't. There's one in there somewhere, Chris. He'll find one eventually. There we go. Off he goes again. Lets a bit of the traffic through. And he's going to reverse it round. Murakami gets going again. Not helping things whatsoever for him right now. Mayer in the round of pit stops as well. Come back out in front of Montgomery and Pentakainen. These top two still keep going away. Now I do wonder. There's more efficient lines. It's actually Hoagie got a bit more pace in that car than what Pereira has in his. If so, does Hoagie try the undercut here? That's the interesting one, because that could be his biggest chance of getting past. As there is Simon Mayer. Just mentioned the aforementioned Simon Mayer up in 11th now. Highest driver to pit. Walbolt is into the pits. He's going to come out behind Mayer, as mentioned earlier. Mayer did pit from 5th place. There is Walbolt. Dropping down a few more places. We'll keep you up to date where he comes out with that one. Still going though are these two. Nothing to separate them whatsoever. 26 minutes of racing, and they've been like this every step of the way. Unbreakable, unfathomable pace between these two. A real fight for the ages. Nobody giving an inch to each other whatsoever. Now that is traffic. They're coming up on Franz Reck. We look back from him as Pereira and Hoagie are closing in, and worries me. Let's take a little look at lap times, how they're lapping. So, oh, Pereira's in. Hoagie does not follow him in though. This is the moment. This is the time when we find out how this race is going to shape up. Will Addison Hoagie have the in-lap of his life? Or is Pereira going to have the out-lap of his life and go all the way to claim victory here at Lime Rock Park in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors Series on Apex Racing TV? Don't go anywhere, because the next few minutes are going to define this race. No stretch about it, no imagination required. This is what's happening as Jeff Jacobson, he's into the pits too. Where is Mayer? He's the interesting player in this. He will come out behind Pereira, but will he get the jump on Jakes too? I think he's going to. Look at where he's on the circuit. Franz Reck pulls over to one side. That's Alexander Hoagie who goes round again. And I think Hoagie's managed to fuel save his way around this one. As more drivers into the pits. Overstreet, Renders all head in. Wallbank too. Jakeson's headed out now. Overstreet and Renders, this is interesting where they're going to come out in relation to Mayer. Mayer currently in 8th now. It's Overstreet and Renders. Their pit box is right down the end of the pit lane. They pull over, take on board their fuel. Of course, no charge changes. You can change them, but it's just not worth it in this series. Here is Mayer. So he's heading up the back of the circuit through the uphill, through the back straight. Well, you can hardly pull it straight, but he's classified as that. Overstreet and Renders still stationary. They're going to get out again. And how Mayer, well, Mayer's coming at pace. But you can see him just in the distance there, heading out through turn 1. So it hasn't worked for Mayer. And hasn't really gained any time for him. Maybe a little bit, but nothing dramatic. Didn't work out for the German. But if you don't try these things, you will never, ever know. Yet to stop is at Hoagie, Green, Race and Brewster. 1 through 4th. 11 minutes left here in America. And who is going to take it? Has Hoagie done enough? It's fastest lap of the race from Hoagie last time around at 53.43. He is flying here. And he needs to. Because Pereira, well, he cuts the timing beam. What did he just manage? So he just managed a 54.1. That's a 7/10 difference. And I think Alison Hoagie may well have just done enough here. As long as he gets his pit stop absolutely smack on, just sitting behind Pereira, all of that time is going to have paid dividends. He will have fuel saved his way to victory here at Lime Rock Park as Pereira pushing to the absolute max again. As Green and Rice, they're in from 2nd and 3rd overall. Down the hill comes Pereira. Brewster's in as well. As this is just traffic now in front of 91 machines. That's Charlie Vaccaro there. In front of Pereira. Pereira heads up for the inside. Vaccaro is a seasoned veteran in this series and many of the Ray Esports stables of series. Was all Franz Rex had a crash. Hoagie's in. Right. Now it's time to find out just how much he has done as it works out. As we see a replay now, this is what happened to Franz Reck. Was it much of a wreck for Reck? Did he avoid the rule? No, he didn't. Oh, that's a big impact there for the American. Well, he gets the car going again. Rolls it down into probably the pit lane. Yes, he has. So where Hoagie's on the pit exit, here comes Pereira. So he's just coming out. You just see those green wheels in the background there, but it's now in the foreground. Hoagie into the lead. Pereira, well, he's half the pit straight away. And Hoagie has come out. And he is going to be... Now, it takes normally a few seconds to update, but is it really 5.9 seconds? That's an astronomical lead that Hoagie's managed to pull out. Wow, as producer Lewis has just pointed it out to me. Wow, that difference is pretty much a 3-second difference time-wise. So, Hoagie stationary for 15 seconds dead. Pereira at 17.83. 2.8 seconds. But even so, that still leads. That still leaves 3 seconds he's managed to open up. Well, he was flapping at nearly a lap a second faster, so... Wow, that is a big old difference from Alison Hoagie there. Big old difference, and that's surely going to take him to victory. So we're into the last quarter of the race. 32 minutes complete out of the 40, and Alison Hoagie leads over Jean Pereira. And in fact as well, which makes it all the more special from Hoagie, the Spec 2 driver leads overall. Fantastic stuff. Thomas Renders is in 3rd. Well, he's had a good run of pit stop as well, because he was behind Overstreet as well. That really works out well for him. As there is Brewster versus Montgomery, and Brewster just getting the advantage, sneaking up the inside there. not for a positioning class, but it is for overall. Brewster up to 8, Montgomery down to 9th, Pentakainen just behind them. Could each catch onto the back? I mean, he's incredibly close. He's in with a shout of getting into this scuffle. Turning into a right skirmish. Just reading Franz Reck. Disappointed on his finish. As he says, really knows the circuit, but Franz, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I've certainly been there many a time. No, that's it, Pentakainen. Well held there, sir, well held. Just about keeps hold of it. Heading through the dipper, opposite lock, plenty and in an absolute abundance. The fin not finished yet. 10th, he remains, and still on the back of Montgomery and Brewster. Race leadings are in that Masters Class 7th overall. Green's had a really good recovery, fell right down to pretty much the back of the pack. Picked himself up, and 2 after 1, if he hadn't had that spin early on, what would he have achieved? Would he have been right up there? I mean, he was running in 3rd at the time. I think he would have given that fight with Hoagie and Pereira all the way to the finish. I mean, like most Renders, he had a spin too, of course. He dropped out from, what's 3rd place at the time. Has recovered to head back there yet again, and Overstreet has dropped behind Renders, and unfortunately just does not seem to have an answer for the Dutchman whatsoever. The state of the race, which is just playing in the pool, leaving it till late. It's very possible. It's very possible. Time is running out. 5.5 minutes left remaining from Lime Rock Park. Your chances of running out, and it is tough to pass around here. You need to go for it sooner rather than later. And I think Renders knows he's in a bit of trouble. He knows he's under pressure as he pulls to the right-hand side of the circuit, trying to defend that inside line. Saying to Overstreet, if you want to get past me, you're going to have to do this the hard way. You're going to have to find the long way around. You've got to get creative. Because I am not giving up this podium place overall to you whatsoever. On board with Overstreet. You can see slipping and sliding the car there through the S's and through the kink. This is where you can make a bit of time. How brave dare you be? Electing to take the Jean Pereira line through there. Getting outplaced and personal with the grass. In fact, Renders did clip a bit of it, but held it well. Still to keep that gap at 4, well, nearly 5 tenths in fact. Over Overstreet. Another lap completed. 40 laps in the bag. Retirements. Sadly, we lost Tom Lorry back on lap 15. Ball. Actually, Wreck, apologies, still stationary. That's looking like it's going to be a retirement. So 16 places Wreck. We lost him on lap 32. Lap 15, we lost Tom Lorry. Lap 13, we lost Ball and Montevani. Gassius on lap 11. Ray on lap 10. Love on lap 8. Camillo lap 6. And Rich Howard all the way back on lap 4. 90% of the race so far ago. That's how long ago that one was. An absolute lifetime ago. So Overstreet's, she knows she's in trouble. Knows she needs to get that wiggle on. Needs to press on here and sets the fastest second sector of anyone on track. That's how hard she's pushing. That's how much she wants this right now. And as they cross the line, only eats 0.08 of a second into Thomas Renders. It's running out fast, and now we're nearly 3 minutes away from the end of the race, taking the checkered flag. Here in the Weekend Warriors Formula Ford Series on Apex Racing TV. Of course, later on this evening, we have got the Spec Racers coming up for you live on the channel. Charles Michel to cover that one. Schuster Lewis, he's going to be there, making all the action come together for you, for your viewing pleasure here on the channel. So make sure you tune in for that one. That's coming up about 4 minutes now after we finish up here from Lime Rock Park in the Formula Ford Series. A big grid. I mean, we haven't had a small grid here at 24 cars. Even bigger it plenty in the Ford Spec races. The series has been going for many years, and yes, it I've not really ever enjoyed, but driving-wise, we just love commentating on it because it's always epic. 2-wides, that is not even worth mentioning. 3-wides, maybe. 4-wides, 5-wides, yes please, that's what we're all about here in the Weekend Warriors. They'll manage it even somewhere narrow here at Lime Rock Park, Montevideo. I think that's so Pereira in the background there. I think it was pushing hard here right to the end. Not really been able to make an impression in Hoagie, who's just been solid as a rock up front. Murakami now trying to make his way past Warbolt. There here's Hoagie heading out onto lap 43. Well, looking at the clock, he's got probably, yeah, this lap, and then he'll take the white flag, and then it'll be the checkered. That is all we've got remaining. And what a race it has been here. As I tell you, a race, I tell you, he's recovered himself all the way back to the lead after all the pit stuff, after all the drama, after losing those places, back to the lead in Masters, which is amazing, really. Murakami's really struggled in this stage of the race. Brewster's had an absolute ball. He's up 4 places into 8th and 2 places in class, having sorted 4th in class. So that's a great result from the American hero at his home track. Also, stunning results from Jacobson. He's up 7. Likewise is Gary Warbolt. Charlie Bagara has picked up 8 places. Great result from him, which is he is running last on track. He will pick up 15 for that. All his troubles and keeping it clean, keeping it on the black stuff. There he is right on the screens right now. Captain Lawrence Brewing Racing. 30 seconds left on the clock. And the white flag, in fact, has got to have been out, hasn't it, for Alison Hoagie? There he is, and it's going to take him. This might be a bit close here. He might get over the line. I'm not sure. We're going to find out when he crosses the line whether the checkered is out. I think it's going to be, yes, it is. And Alison Hoagie, the Spec 2 driver, takes victory here at Lime Rock Park. The former Ford Weekend Warriors with precision driving analytics. Great result from him. Jean Pereira, the Brazilian, after leading for so long, takes 2nd overall, wins in class though. Renders 3rd, Overstreet 4th overall, 3rd in class, could not make the overtake at the end. Mayer returns to 5th at that very early stop. Green, a good recovery for him, back to 6th. What's happening in Masters? I hear you cry. Well, it's Antonio Race. Oh, was there a bit of a mistake from Jim Brewster late on? I think there was where he might have come off track, but it didn't matter in the end. Still remains 2nd in class, 11th overall. Wow, what a race that has been. What a race. Non-stop, start to finish, wall-to-wall action, but that's what we love about this series. Absolutely love it. And, well, earlier on the chat, seeing we catching up on it, Marco Pinero. Good day to you, sir. We'll be seeing him later in the Ford Spec Racers. And Muncie Apples, good game. I'll tell you, it was a great race. It was an absolute stormer here. And let's take you through some classified results for the Ford Weekend Warriors presented by Ray Sports with precision data analysis here from Lime Rock Park. It's Alison Hoagie with a victory. The Spec 2 driver winning overall. A great result from the Canadian. Jean Pereira, he comes home in 2nd place, winning in Masters. Then it's Renders to run out the overall podium. Overstreet, as I mentioned, picking up that podium in Spec 1. So used to saying Spec 2 when they let it slow down. That shows you just how crazy it was today. Mayer 5th, Green 6th, great recovery drive from the American. Antonio Rice picks himself back up to 7th overall and picks up the win in Masters. Then you've got 2nd and 3rd in class in Spec 2, 8th and 9th overall respectively. It's Montgomery and Lasse Pentakainen. Jeff Jacobson rounds out your top 10, and then it's the remaining podium in Masters with Brewster and Murakami all 1 lap down, 11th and 12th overall. Warbolt and Wallbank. It's a bit of a tongue question with those two so close together. 13th, 14th, then Vaccaro. Last driver to round out the runners and riders that managed to finish the race. 15th overall, then into retirement. Franz Reck. We managed to complete 44 laps. He retired all the way back on lap 15. Ball on lap 13. Likewise with Montevani. Gassias back on lap 11. Ray on lap 10. Love on lap 8. Camillo on lap 6, and Rich Howard back on lap 4. Let's have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers. And first off, I think, well, it'd be rude not to. With what appeared to be just a dominant display in the end, Addison Hoagie joins us. Addison, congratulations. I mean, what a victory.
Thank you so much, Tim.
I mean, I thought that going through the race, there was nothing between yourself and Pereira. But clearly, you were just playing the mind games, just sitting there and fuel saving.
Yeah, I knew he was way quicker. He was way quicker in practice. He was quicker in quali, so I knew it was going to come down to fuel. So I was just praying he didn't have his fuel strategy down. And then I was surprised to come out 5 seconds ahead.
I mean, yeah, it was looking at the pit stop times for you, Addison. I mean, it looks like he took the extra click of fuel, and that's what killed things off Addison, for Jean, unfortunately. But even so, I mean, those in laps where you were able to stop a little bit later, of course, lighter fuel, so you're able to put in faster lap times, just defined your race really and carried you through to victory.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I just stayed on his tail the entire race, hoping he'd make a mistake, and that didn't work. So see what happens next time.
No, he didn't. I mean, lap after lap, he did get incredibly close just coming out through the back of the circuit as you crest the hill. He was getting incredibly close to the grass to the point of I thought he was going to have an incident. He never did. He was infallible. But even so, it worked for you. And then that's Addison Hoagie, your victor here today from Lime Rock Park. Let's try and cram in as many of the other drivers as we can. Next up, let's have a chat to our winner in Masters. Well, the master of masters, it is Antonio Race, joins us right now. Antonio, I mean,
good night, guys.
You had that incident earlier on. I thought, well, is this going to be the end of it? But in the end, a really strong result to recover all the way back up into 7th.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to give up.
No, and it just shows, doesn't it? Well, you should never give up because you never quite know. And just talk us through that sort of mentality. Obviously, you have a bit of an incident, you fall through the order. I mean, what was just going through your mind? As you said, you didn't want to give up, but I mean, it would have been so easy to, surely.
Yeah, at the moment I was thinking, oh, I want to quit, but then no, let's go. And then, yeah, well, was a mixed feelings at the moment of the accident. And then, yeah, just for fun, just having fun with the guys on the track. That's all.
Well, exactly. That's what it's all about, fun. If you can bag a result, then it's all the better. And 7th overall, first in class. Congratulations. That's Antonio Rice. As well, we try and rattle through as many as we can. Thomas Renders. Let's have a little chat to him next. He had a bit of an eventful race. Thomas, well, I mean, 3rd overall in the end, on the podium. You can't complain about that one.
No, not at all. I think I drove flawlessly except for one mistake, which cost me the connection to the leaders. So that was a bit of a disappointment during the race, but I just said to myself, okay, keep on driving, you can still get onto the podium. And yeah, I drove my ass off for that. Sorry for the language, but
no, I think it's fully justified, and it's past 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock somewhere in the world anyway. To be allowed bad language once in a while, and I think all our broadcasts are marked for mature audiences anyway, so you're fine. Don't worry about it. But no, I mean, but the pace of the top two today, I mean, they just seemed a different league, didn't they?
well, to be honest, I thought the same when I was in the draft, but after the pit stops, I saw Gene coming out of the pits, and I was slowly creeping up on him. So I think I might have been on the same pace as they, although it didn't feel like that.
I don't know. Well, I was going to say when they were way off in the distance, it's hard. It's so hard, isn't it, to feel like you are on the same pace as them when they're running away with it. But even so, not a bad day at the office, really, is it? 3rd overall, couldn't really I complain that one too much.
I'm very happy with it. This is what I drive for, so I'm happy.
Definitely. That is Thomas Renders. He picked up 3rd here today from Lime Rock. Let's have a roll through a few more of them. I think we've got just enough time. Yes, we have. Chris Montgomery is next up. Chris, I mean, 2nd in class, but I mean, Addison Hoagie, different levels, really.
Oh man, I thought Lassie and I were fighting for P1. That's why I
Well,
chimed
but
in.
now this is a bit of a where it's open to debate here because Addison, when he first joined, was in Spec 1 or was marked as that. Now he has improved in his iRacing quite a bit as the season's gone on. So morally, yes, it's a
Well,
Chris Montgomery victory in
yeah,
Spec 2.
we'll go with that because Addison is just
Yes,
too fast. But
yes, yeah, he's
La-
definitely too fast for Spec 2. Definitely.
Lassie and I had a great battle pretty much the whole race, and even came in and pit together. And then I got a little bit of advantage on him. And really, the only reason I was able to stay in front of him is because Jim Brewster, my buddy, came out and passed me, which was actually a good thing. I was able to hold on to his draft and kind of keep about a 1 second gap on Lassie the last stint.
And also, up 7 places overall, Chris. I mean, there was a couple of incidents in front of you, but even so, you made a fair few passes out on track today. On a track that's really challenging to get moves done on.
Absolutely. Just this car is so slippery. Love Lime Rock. I actually grew up going to races here, SCCA races, and it's just all about momentum. And if anybody makes a mistake in front of you, obviously that helps out a great deal. It's just hard to make passes in these things.
It is indeed, especially at a track like this. It's, like you say, all about the momentum, and it carries you to that moral victory in Spec 2. Definitely, with Addison being so much far in front of everyone else. So, yeah, I'll go with that one. That's Chris Montgomery, 8th overall, 7 places, and a winner in Spec 2. Let's have we've got next up, we'll go in the list. It's Jim Brewster. Jim, congratulations. I mean, a second in class, and when you came out of the pits, you were incredibly close to Antonio. You could have sneaked him there, but he just got away.
Well, I would suggest you should try that sometime. Get behind Antonio and try to pass him. Antonio's very quick. And
Yes,
but I
rather
saw
you
through the
than me,
attrition.
Jim.
I did calculate though that he was probably leading Masters, so that if I could hang on to him. I don't know if you noticed, but I ended up running out of gas, so I dropped from 8th to 11th. I can't believe we went 42 laps, at 59 seconds and 40 minutes. That sounds like 41 to me. So I had it trimmed very closely. But anyway, had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I got bumped early in that mess in the S's, and I got bumped off track. So I was in the back, and Antonio, then he spun, and then so we were together for a while. But anyway, it's still a lot of fun. This car is a handful. We raced the V's yesterday, and the V's are sort of a walk in the park around here compared to this thing. This thing keeps you on your toes all time.
Oh, it definitely keeps you engaged, doesn't it, for the whole 40-minute
Yes.
duration? Even when you fall off behind people, it's definitely engaging.
Yeah, if you blink or even think about something else, you're gonna, it's a handle. But it's a proper race car. Really, it's a wonderful car. I'm glad we're having success with this league. I think it'll keep growing. I don't know if we'll surpass the Surfs, but it sure wouldn't shock me because this is, I think, more of a pure race car.
Well, I mean, since they pretty much max out the grids nearly every week, I think that's a tall order, to pass it to, unless iRacing had more grid slots into the simulation. However, I mean, like to say, it's growing in popularity, and you can see why with a great league, great racing. And I was interested you mentioning how you ran out of fuel towards the end. I did spot you dropped a couple of places toward the end, but still managed to cling on that second place, and that's the crucial part. And I think that's the positive thing to say. Well, that's Jim Brewster, second in class 11th overall here today, and he's been sat there waiting. It'd be rude not to. Roland Royal Bank. Hello, Roland.
Hello.
Well, not a bad day at the office, mate. Into 14th, and it was tricky out there today, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, taking out the host wasn't my my finest moment, I have to say. In lap 10.
No, we've been there, haven't we? But it was one of those things. I mean, it looked so slippery out on track. I mean, despite the track temperatures were warm, but nothing horrific today.
Well, I tend to be a slow but steady sort of driver who tries not to do much counter steering, and people like Lassie, who was kind of in front of me at one point, him and Tom, they're really good at. I say getting to the edge, and maybe a little over it, and they frighten the life out of me when I'm behind them. So I usually will try to sort of stay out of their way and see what develops. It's the coward's way of doing it, but I'd rather not get involved with those two going side by side or whatever.
Well, don't you worry, Roland. I'm in exactly the same train of thought when I drive, and I completely agree with you on that one. But, well, I mean, as you're the last one in for interviews, any closing thoughts on the racing here today from yourself?
No, it was good. It was good. It was clean. I'd like to thank Stevie for running it, and I am terribly sorry I crashed you out. I'd like to thank my wife, if I may, for having my dinner ready so I can participate in this. And a shout out to my mate Mick Claridge, who's cycling around the world to meet iRacers. So,
Oh wow,
yeah.
what a story!
Oh yeah, yeah. He's over. He's got his own one of these things, the Discord. Mick Claridge, look him up. He's trying to cycle around the world to get a T-shirt signed by any iRacers who'll go and meet him.
Wow, that is a fascinating story. I'm definitely going to go check that one out after the broadcast for certain. Well, what a closing thought. Glad I asked now. That's
Yeah.
Roland Warbank. He finished fifth in class, well, fourth in class, apologies, and up 14th, up to 14th.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, thanks very much.
Great to talk to you,
Cheers
Roland.
now.
Wow. Interesting story there, and that's what sim racing is all about. You never quite know what it's going to throw at you. Well, that's all we've got time for here this week, and I think it's finished. Producer Lisby happened. This one's finished absolutely smack on time. For myself, Tim Cox, and Lewis Araya, thank you very much for joining us. Go take a break, get yourself a drink, because coming up on the channel in about 40 minutes time-ish, 45 minutes time, something around there, it's the SRF Weekend Warriors. Don't go anywhere for that one. Make sure you tune in. Bigger grids, more action. Can you believe it? Well, tune in to find out that one. But for now, we'll see you shortly here at Apex Racing TV from Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at Lime Rock Park. Goodbye.